some space or something. So money we should not spend this much, I believe, but at least we can get a seat. Maybe you can talk to some of your
Hello,
friends.
everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Vaishali, welcoming you all on behalf of Solar Quarter and First View Group to our today's webinar on solar power in Bahrain. Thank you all the attendees for joining us today. I hope all the attendees has a great time networking with your peers in our exhibition tables. We will have that networking session again after the panel discussion. Now I take the pleasure to thank our sponsor Huawei Technologies for extending their immense support to organize this event. So now we will be playing our sponsor video.
Is it that takes us further into the future? It exists in every visible detail. And somewhere in the unexplored possibilities, we imagine countless times that dry deserts become lush oases. And now it has become a reality. Sunlight spur a new ray of hope. Make the earth green and breathe new life everywhere. The size from rural to urban areas get simplified gradually. Conserve the nature and ensure seamless connectivity. Turning complexity into simplicity. Modular construction of data centers is designed for an intelligent digital world. To unleash cloud computing potential and to accelerate the smart future. Speed up for future transport. For every pleasure travel, green power is used to achieve an excellent experience. Modular power can be highly integrated and applied everywhere. To light up the moments you are looking forward to. Bring unlimited possibilities and make life better and convenient. Huawei Digital Power. Preserve Earth with technologies. For zero carbon, smart society.
Now let's begin with the first presentation by Mr. Karthik Kumar, Country Manager, KSAN Bahrain, Huawei Digital Power. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vaishali. Let me share my screen. Just confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, so welcome everyone, gentlemen. I hope you are all doing well. Myself, Karthik Kumar, the Country Manager for Saudi and Bahrain from Huawei Digital Power. As I think you have seen the video just a few seconds before that talks about exactly the Huawei Digital Power, what we are going to, what I'm going to present here today. So I will cover up not in detail, so we'll have a brief overview on Huawei profile, what we do, and what is the trends and challenges in the industry, and followed with Huawei solutions. So as a Huawei, as most of you all know about Huawei, that we are in globally multinational company. We have reached more than 170 countries worldwide. and we are ranked number 44 on Fortune Global 500 companies, and we have been ranked number 2 in terms of R&D investment, which is more than 20% of our revenue has been going to R&D investment. And as you can see, the percentage of employees has been deputed as in R&D, it is more than 50%. So, but this it helps to cater our customers, with all the key values. So we'll cover up the digital power as a Huawei digital power. There are 5 major business which contributes to digital power. One is the smart PV. We have data center facility, then site power, the dry one, which is the electric mobility, and the last one is the embedded power. So as you can see, the sales revenue in digital power space, we have been having continuous, consistent growth rate of 20% for the last 5 years. And as you can see, this helps. We are serving almost 1/3 of the global population, and as you can see, the reach in the market is like number 1, a major market leader position in many of the business domain space which we are catering, like in number 1 in terms of global shipments in smart PV space, and we have been ranked number 1 in the prefab modular DC for last 7 years in the data center facility, and we have 35.6% market share in site power. And we are also now venturing into the electric mobility, as I mentioned to you, providing the battery management system, the EV charging space, everything. So as a digital power, we have been, as a digital power space, we have almost 6,000 employees, and we have 60% more employees dedicated to R&D, and we have spent more than 10% in the as an investment. So you can see we have spread it across our R&D research centers globally in 12 places, predominantly in Europe, where all the power electronics developments happen from Germany, and anything related to algorithm topology, it's happened from Sweden, and anything related to product developments is predominantly in China. So as in smart PV, we since as you can see, we have been investing tremendously in the R&D segment. I mean, in the research and development. This helps us to bring continuous innovations for different PV scenarios. So when I say different PV scenarios, we'll be catering to utility, commercial and industrial application, and residential application as well. So this helps us to retain the number 1 position in terms of global shipment from year 2015 to 2020. I believe we'll be retaining the same position in 2021 as well. And as you can see, we have been maintaining the rank, market leadership in almost every part of the world, maybe except the North America. So as you can see, we have been deployed more than 200 gigawatt in all these categories. And we have been developing our solutions, which have been catered to all type of harsh environments, all type of scenarios, as I mentioned. So, and also we have been working with more than 250,000 partners globally. Yeah. So as you can see, we as an industry, as in Huawei, we have been continuously contributing the development of global standards on specific to the PV industries. If you're focusing on predominant factors like active safety, grid supporting, and ESS solution as well. So if you look at, we have 5 competency centers, as I mentioned, Germany, we have in Spain, we have in China and other regions, and we have expertise coming from doctorates from universities and expertise from in the institutions like standards institutions. So we have people's expertise in European Union, IEEE. So we have been expertise which is contributing to developing the standards, focusing on the key challenges where our customers facing today. So I'll be happy to announce before I jump to the trends and challenges. I'll be happy to announce we have appointed an official distributor in Bahrain, which is the Innova Consultancy, which is active since this year in 2022, and you can see the key members on the right hand side who is supporting Huawei operation in Bahrain. So they are backed up with full sales support team, technical team, and services team. So as a customer, you can have better cooperation and support from our partners, from our distributor, in terms of technical support, after sales support, warranty, warehouse, so everything. So you will feel more, you will get more value from our distributors. So talk about the trends and challenges in the PV industry, which is LCOE. As you can see, the LCOE has been continuously decreasing over a period of time. So what are the key factors which is driving the LCOE on the bottom side, which is in the major? There are 5 major factors, as you all know. Predominantly on the modules, as you can see, it has been the capacity of the modules itself has been increasing from 300 watts to 540 watts, and in the future you will be ending up with 600 plus watts modules. And you also see the array capacity. It will be from 1 megawatt to today we have been seeing 6.5 megawatt, and future it will be about 8.8 megawatt. Maybe it can touch up to 12 megawatt. On the inverter side, you can see the huge improvement on the efficiency, the performance of the equipment itself. In terms of, as you can see, the operating voltage is from 1000 volt, and today we have 1500 volt, and we are also developing with bipolar architecture, which is beyond 1500 volt. So this is something very interesting solution where we can discuss more about it maybe in the separate session. And talks about the support structure. We have these trackers. There was an advancement in the trackers from fixed to the fixed structure to the tracker structure, and now it has been infused with artificial intelligence algorithm. As you can see, Huawei has developed this smart DC system, which communicate with the trackers to enhance more yields. So and the last but not least, the operation and maintenance, which is the most significant concern for the developers who is running the plant for 20-25 years. So as you can see, again, there is a lot of advancement happening on the artificial intelligence space that which helps to improve the monitoring of the whole plant level. So these are the factors which contributing the LCOE drastically. So on the challenging side, as you can see, there are more number of renewable plants penetrating in the grid, which is coming from the PV and wind. That's the more higher the penetration rate, the more the challenges on the power grid stability. So as you can see, the challenges the industry will face, that they need more support on the power grid stability. So as a Huawei, we have been our solutions can support the grid forming and to maintain this short circuit ratio as per the grid requirements. The last but not least, on the safety side, which is the key concern for any operator globally. As you can see, there are many instances happening in terms of fire safety from the rooftop space to on the industrial side to the utility scale and also on the energy storage side. So as you can see, many standards has been enforced mandatorily on certain industries as a part of the requirement. So as I also mentioned before, that we have certain expertise with contributing to these standards to improve, and also we also incorporating those features in our solutions. So talking about the smart PV solutions, we have been catering in different scenarios, from smart PV generator, which is predominantly a utility section, and we have smart string energy storage, which is again we have in utility and the other spaces like on the distribution side. So we have C&I, which is commercial industrial, which will predominantly we are focusing on Bahrain. We also have residential segment and also the microgrid. So Microgrid is basically a combination of the ESS and the power conversion system, which we'll talk about later. So talking about the utility scale, we have this end-to-end solution portfolio to our customers, from the smart PV controller with higher capacity of 200 kTL at the current scenario, and we also have a smart transformer station up to 9 megawatt. Uh, of course, it's supported with the other features like smart array controller. We have smart management system. We have smart IV curve diagnosis. So the smart PV controller, it helps our customers to add value in terms of generating a higher yield by having multiple MPPTs, no fuse design, IP66, hassle-free operation, and easy maintenance, high reliability. Yeah. So there are so these are the functions which enables to continuously add value to our customers for the long term. So coming back to the C&I space, we have full portfolio. We have a bunch of portfolios starting from 12 kTL to 100 kTL inverters, catering to the commercial and industrial space, especially on the rooftop. So this again will comes with multiple features like AFCI function, anti-BID recovery. Then we have pinpoint functions enabling with this smart PV optimizer. Okay, so we have recently launched 600-watt smart PV optimizer, which helps to generate more yields compared to the roof space. Without the PV optimizer, you will get more yields, and also it helps you to increase more number of modules per string. So you can connect more number of modules per string, which helps you to bring down the BOS, and also it supports the exact pinpoint of fault, using the in junction with our smart IV curve diagnosis. So you also have the other tools like smart dongle, you have smart ACU, and with the different applications with smart metering, the net metering applications, all the stuffs. So I will not be covering much on the residential space. I'll be just conclude with this smart string ESS solution. What we have today is on different application scenarios on with starting from 2 megawatt hour on the utility scale. That comes with 20-foot container, which is with multiple features like distributed cooling, different level of optimization. It comes with inbuilt fire safety hazard. So all this functions, and this has a huge track record in Saudi Arabia with 1.3 gigawatt hour, which is a kind of prestigious project in Saudi, and it is the largest project in the world. Okay, so and this also supported with our smart PCS, which is a bidirectional inverter, and also we can offer the smart transformer system station and the complete package like BMS and EMS on the utility scale. And also we are coming up with the small scale energy storage solution, which is 200 kilowatt hour, which will be planning to launch by end of this year. This will cater the C&I space. Again, it will be supported with PCS with 100 kTL and the other supporting features. So I will not go into detail much about the technical stuff. So we can have a separate session on the technical on the solution side on each and every product portfolio. So thank you so much for listening, and for any queries related to products and solutions, you can reach me out, or you can reach me our partner in Bahrain, which I've shown you. Thanks for listening, and thank you so much. So I will hand over to you, Vaisali.
Thank you for the insightful presentation, sir. So now it's time to begin with our much-awaited panel discussion, in which our expert panelists will discuss the solar market outlook of Bahrain. And to discuss this, we have in the panel with us Mr. Sameer Zaiwade, independent engineer. He is the moderator of the session. Mr. Kartik Kumar, country manager, KSAN Bahrain, Huawei Digital Power. Mr. Ibrahim Ahmed Radhi, co-founder and board member, Green Innova. Mr. Fauzi H. Filemban, sales manager, Eastern region of Saudi and Bahrain. Safir Solar, Mr. Sham Yadav, Managing Director, Synergize Consultants, Mr. Ali Akbar Ajmerwala, Lead Solar Specialist, Pavilion Renewables, and in the last, Mr. Gulum Bakiri, President, Micro Center. I welcome all the panelists on the screen. Before handing over the session to Sameer sir, I would like to make a small announcement for all the attendees. If you have any question during the discussion, please post them in the Q&A box. Our panelists will take those questions at the end of the discussion. Now I am requesting Sameer sir to lead the discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Vishali, for this nice introduction. I'd like to start by thanking the sponsors, Huawei Technologies, and our esteemed panelists and dear guests. I'd like to follow up with a few questions to Mr. Kumar on his presentation. Mr. Kumar, in Bahrain, we have high temperature or we have high humidity. Can you tell us how your Huawei inverters are designed to cope with the high temperature and the humidity? And as a backup question regarding the operation and maintenance, you mentioned that you have a distributor in Bahrain. Do they have the technical skills to do the required maintenance? Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Samir. So to answer to your first question, how this solution supports the high temperature humidity, as you can see, I've been demonstrating in my slides before that our inverters has been tested in different harsh environments, in high temperature, higher altitude, high even in the salty, it is in the floating side, in the high rain. I mean, different weather conditions. So from the lower temperature, even it is tested in certain places which is has minus degree. So our solutions are being designed in such a way it should adapt to different harsh environment, as I mentioned to you. So it can, since it's being designed in such a way that it comes with IP66, and there is no vulnerable parts like DC fuse. Yeah. So there is no cooling fans for the products up to 60 kTL. So this will help to have protect the product itself, and it have more reliability. So we'll always look on the global scale how it performs, and as you can see, our annual failure rates is less than 0.5%. And also, if you look at the performance ratio as a product, we have been always in upper hand compared to the other solutions in the market, and that this has been proved from the third-party consultant reports, so which is readily available with us. Now, answer to your second question on the maintenance side, yes, we have expertise. We have a partner now in Bahrain who has a really very good team on supporting on the technical, on the after-sales support also. So our partners will be trained from Huawei as a certified service partner. Okay, so and it will be backed with Huawei at all time. So we always have a strategy that we have a local office in the region, in the specific country. So you see, we have been doing for 170 countries operating globally. So we are there every part of the country. Yeah? So we are everywhere. So also we operate through partners, which will be give more comfort to our customers to cater more, to add more value to our customers. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, definitely. We'll have more questions for you, Mr. Kumar. Definitely. Now we'll go back to our esteemed panelists, and we're going to start with Mr. Ibrahim. Mr. Ibrahim, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Excellent. Mr. Ibrahim is the co-founder of Green Innova. It's a company specialized in solar industry as well as energy efficiency. Mr. Ibrahim is holder of industrial engineering from the University of Cambridge. He holds many international professional qualifications in the energy domain. He's also a visiting lecturer at the American University of Bahrain, and he has 15 years of experience in technical and sustainability and consultancy. Uh, Mr. Ibrahim, can you tell us more about the renewable energy regulation in Bahrain? When did it start? Is it covering solar, PV, and what type of connection is required? And we like to hear about the limitations of this law, if you are having any limitations. Over to you, Mr. Ibrahim.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Founder, for this introduction. Absolutely. Thank you. We also thank Huawei, our partner and the sponsor of this event. Looking at the solar market in Bahrain, let's say the very first practical step was with the Babco installation of 5 megawatt. That was back in 2014. And since then, there was continuous support from the government by Sustainable Energy Authority, which is now taking over by EWA, which is the Electricity and Water Authority, until let's say 2017 and 18, where by that time there was a lot of work into the National Renewable Energy Action Plan. And this action plan detailed really the roadmap for the solar system or the solar industry in Bahrain. In this plan, there is three main policies. The very first one was net metering, which is now heavily active. All the systems are running through that policy, which has been growing, let's say, exponentially when it's come to the installation. The second one is the feed-in tariff. And although has been a policy that is stated, but it's still not being implemented. We believe that, there's a great segment that require this policy to be implemented, especially, high-rise buildings with high intensity into electricity. The last one, which is, making it mandatory for new buildings to have a part of its energy as a renewable. Still, this policy has not seen the light, and then we believe activating these two, policies will really, ignite the market even further and making other benefits from the solar system in Bahrain.
Okay. Let me follow up with a question regarding the net metering. So, the consumer who becomes a prosumer, a producer and consumer of electricity, receives a electricity bill at the end of each month.
Yes.
And this bill will show how much he took from the grid and how much he fed the grid. And then the difference is what we call the net metering. And if we took from the grid, we pay, and if we fed the grid extra, then it is rolled over.
Yes.
Is this okay? Perfect. And so what is so there is a big difference between it and the feed-in tariff,
Yes.
which is set by the government. So do you have projects which are net metering and projects which are feed-in tariff?
The majority, or let's say overall projects in Bahrain is net metering.
Okay.
Because the laws go through that concept. Yes, we have major projects in Bahrain with Babco, with many hospital establishments, cities, malls in Bahrain. So all of that is being very active. Feed-in tariff, as I said, is still not there. There, I would say there is demand into having this policy being on board, because if you go to the large commercial buildings, hospitals, they don't have enough land to support their or to match their consumption. But if that feed-in tariff policy being on board, it will encourage these consumer to be prosumer and benefit from the solar system.
Okay, I have one more question in
Sure.
this first round of questions. It's about the installed capacity in Bahrain and the future targets. Do you have an idea about the current electricity capacity generation? What is the peak demand? And what is the installed solar PV installation in Bahrain? What are
Yes.
the future targets?
As of the last, statistic by EWA, is around the 300 megawatt peak is approved, projects in Bahrain. But not all of these has been materialized. But we are talking about 30 to 50, let's say, megawatts being now implemented or at the installation stage. So that is the size of it. Part of this 300 is the 100 megawatt solar farm, which is the utility scales that was announced back around 2 years by the government of Bahrain. The tender was held for a while, but we believe that this will come back, seeing it either Q3 or Q4 in this year. And that's will really, ignite the market and make it really attractive for all developers to believe in. In terms of the targets, actually, Bahrain target initially was designed to be 5% renewable by 2025, and 10% out of the electricity generation by 2035. But last year, actually, at the COP 26, the Prime Minister and the Crown Prince has doubled the target, and making it really challenging even more. Making it in 2025 around 400 megawatt and 1 gigawatt target by 2035.
Thank you, Ibrahim, very much, much appreciated. And we'll come back with more questions in the second round.
Sure.
Our next esteemed speaker is there, Mr. Fauzi. Mr. Fauzi, are you with us?
Yes. Hello.
Excellent. Mr. Fauzi is the sales manager for Eastern region of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, and he has 15 years of experience in the GCC and mainly Saudi market. Can you tell us a little bit about the electricity tariff for the industrial, commercial, and for the residential consumers, please?
So far, as a developer here, we are mainly concentrated on commercial and industrial, and of course, a large scale of residential. And as we see here, recently, the tariff, it was increased since 2019, and everybody here expecting, as per the history, that it will be increased by next year. Which is, it will, we still have one question mark where it will land. We heard that it will be 31, 32. This is our expectation for the market, yes. And of course, it will drive more and more the customers for free carbon and clean energy.
I'm sorry, I need to ask again. What is the tariff kilowatt hour? The price in Bahraini dinar or US dollar for the kilowatt hour?
It is 29 fils so far for the commercial and industrial.
29 for the C&I, commercial,
Yes.
industry, and the residential.
For residential, I don't have the figure exactly, but
okay.
also, but for public also, public sector also is 29.
It is 29, and
Yes.
for the public sector.
Yeah.
So it's and this has been the same tariff has been set for a long time. You said since the 1990s.
No, 2019.
2019. Okay. Okay, perfect. I have one more question, if you allow me, Mr. Fauzi, regarding the installations around Bahrain. Which provinces of Bahrain are leading the race of installation, and what, in your opinion, what has been the key growth driver?
See here again, just let me make it. Bahrain overall, compared to example to region, or compared to Saudi Arabia, it's very mature market, and mainly, let's discuss it like that per sector. It's driving by the industrial and commercial sector, which is the retail, which is malls and also some distribution chains who's going for solar. And mainly they are concentrated in the north, mainly in Manama, Harag, and for sure the industrial areas. Uh, the key drivers it's here. It is for sure the tariff, which is and also the expectation that it will be increased, and of course the national program which was launched in Bahrain, as he said, Mr. Ibrahim. This is also, it's one of good initiative, because also we can see the public tenders is coming for solar, and many ministries, they are solarizing day by day. Example like Ministry of Education, who's trying to solarize also the schools. So this is one of the key driver that it pushed the market for more solar.
I have to go back and ask you the question about the tariff, because I'm doing the conversion and I'm getting a very big number. Do you mean it's 0.29 Bahraini dinar per kilowatt hour, or 0.29 US dollar per kilowatt hour?
No, it was 0.0929.
It's 0.029.
It's 29 fils.
Yes.
29 fils.
Yes.
Okay, 29 fils. So that's
Yes.
29 over 1,000. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
7.7 US dollar,
Yes.
which makes sense. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Fauzi, and we'll come back to you with more questions. Mr. Shyam, are you with us?
Yes, hi, very much so.
Excellent. Mr. Shyam is the founder and managing director of Clean Energy Solar Consultants. He has a background in engineering. He oversees a team comprising of technical, financial, and legal experts who provide one-stop shop advisory services to end users, developers, and contractors in the solar energy. We are very happy that you are with us today. Our question is about the correct process of executing a solar project from feasibility to handover. Can you give us the best way to manage a solar project? Over to you, Mr. Shyam.
Thank you, Samir, and thanks to Huawei and Solar Quarter for setting this up. We are glad this is happening for Bahrain, simply because in this region, solar is happening in different countries, as opposed to how you would see it happen in probably Europe, US, India on a much larger scale, but the country takes a whole decision. The region is probably as big as all those countries put together. So the lessons learned from other areas should be applied. In the simplest sense, solar has been done before. It's probably as old as 5, 6 years in UAE, couple of more years in Jordan, Egypt as well. The process is the same. It starts with a feasibility report, and the feasibility is important to understand the size of the project, the energy that you can get, and the different ways in which you can acquire a project. You can buy it outright as a capex project. You can buy it with a bank loan as a debt finance project, or you can get a lease for such projects, which are working very well nowadays. And the lease in Bahrain is anywhere between 10 and 25 years. 10 not so attractive, 25 still quite good. The feasibility report transitions into the client launching a tender. It's important that you, specifically if it's not your core business, these are not projects where you nominate your procurement team or somebody in the facility management to take charge of something like this, because it's going to stay on your roof for 25 years. If you build a building, to last a long time and you deploy a consultant and contractor, this is also a project where you require the same service, simply because they would probably know more than you in the due diligence process. So feasibility, tendering, then selection of the contractor, then the legal contract. That topic gets easily misused and abused. People think it's a very short format and it's a construction contract. The power purchase agreement and the lease agreements require time to understand something that you're walking into for a long term. And believe me, we've been through too many projects here, small, mid, large, where we understand the loopholes of this going ahead and the impacts to operations. So post-contract, there is the execution of the plant. You have to have a trusted contractor, good deployment of the project, and then the commissioning. So the process is from feasibility all the way to commissioning, just the way you would build your building, treat your solar plant like that. And only then it will give you the benefits which in numbers are shown to you in the feasibility.
Definitely. And regarding the contractor, you mean the contractor will be responsible for the installation and on them for the time, for how much duration, for the duration of the lease contract or the loan, or the or how is it going now in Bahrain?
So the way it works is, in a capex project, the contractor who's building it will also maintain the project. And you normally sign up a 5-year, maximum 7 to 10-year O&M. We don't recommend signing long-term O&M because operations and maintenance starts getting picked up by dedicated O&M companies who start managing entire assets of 50, 60 megawatts. So if you sign up with a contractor for 10 years, you are restricting your chances to get a cheaper and better, probably stronger dedicated O&M company. But who builds is the one who operates and maintains. And in a leasing project, anyway, this is not your headache. It's the headache of the company that is setting up the plant. But you cannot wash your hands off it and say, your problem, your headache. The contracts are always important in such projects.
Okay, I have one more follow-up question regarding the conditions of contract. Are you using the FEDEC International form of contract for the gold book or the yellow book for the solar PV projects?
So Samir, this is what we did. We looked at FIDIC Yellow and we understood that we can map certain points from it. But now we've got about more than 550 megawatts in this specific region. And we tweaked and made a new version of a solar lease agreement and a solar capex contract, adding items that were very region specific, specifically the bonds, insurances, guarantees, project liabilities, performance guarantees linked to weather factors. These are not there in FIDIC because FIDIC treats it like a construction project. You can't treat solar like that. Solar has very long-term liabilities. To actually be able to invoke a performance guarantee for underperformance of a solar plant 2-3 years later requires you to build a lot of formulas in the contract. So we've got a mix of them. FIDIC Yellow is the base of it, but then the contract is created specifically for solar.
Okay, so these specific conditions are you are using the IEC standards, for example, the IEC 62446, and for the energy performance, I think there are 2 more IEC standards.
Yes. So we're relying on IEC, but then again, the nodal factors per country change. So when you're setting the performance ratio calculation, you will make adjustments in formulas for those specific appendices for those countries.
Yes, of course, definitely. Well done. Thank you very much, Mr. Shyam, for your excellent answers and explanations. We'll come back to you with more questions in second round. Now we have Mr. Ali. Mr. Ali, are you with us?
Absolutely, Samir.
Excellent. Mr. Ali is a solar expert and battery systems specialist. He has a master's degree in energy science and engineering. He has 5 years experience with over 100 megawatts under his belt. His core expertise lies in the design, installation, commissioning, energy projects, and C&I. And he's working at Pavilion. right now. Mr. Ali,
Yes, Samir.
um, uh, we have a question about the current GCC market because you worked at more than one company and more than one locations. So how do you see the current GCC market affecting and benefiting the Bahrain solar market?
Thank you, Samir, for the question. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Huawei and Solar Quarter, for inviting us, and thank you everyone for joining in. Uh, to answer your question, Mr. Samir, see, we have worked in Dubai and we have worked in Bahrain and also in Saudi. Right. What we see is so Dubai Pinnacle is its growth in 2016-17 when the net metering policy was out in 2015. It just started. It just picked up in 2016 and 17, and it just kept on growing. And it has reached to great heights as of now, as we speak. But what we are seeing right now is a drop in number of installations in Dubai, just because of a lot of factors coming into play, right? And that's where Bahrain comes into the picture, right? Bahrain has absolutely the same policy which Dubai had and Dubai has. The only reason I would think that Bahrain hasn't gone as explosive as Dubai would be the EVA tariffs that we have over here. So EVA tariffs currently sits at 29 fils, as Fauzi mentioned, and a typical project in solar would cost you around 20 to 23 fils per kilowatt hour roughly, which would mean only a 21 or 22% discount over the EVA tariff, while the same in Dubai is sitting at 44 and a half fil, 44 fil, which gives you a 50% discount over the grid tariff. Right. So hence Dubai boomed, and Bahrain is still catching up with it. But now that what we see is in the what is happening in the region is, and talking about Saudi still is working on a rigid policy to come up with for net metering, and that makes Bahrain a center point in the Gulf region where everyone wants to be, because it has a good net metering policy. It has good infrastructure. We are building the infrastructure as we speak right now, and the same that happened over there could happen over here, right? And we are also expecting the tariffs to go up, so the percentage saving will definitely go up as well. And and it's as I was saying, it's 1 hour flight away. Dubai is 1 hour flight away. Everyone can just directly fly into this country, and whatever they have implemented over there can be replicated over here, and this is where the region is moving towards, right? The region is more moving towards solarization, and what the things that we see in Dubai, there's no reason why that cannot happen in Bahrain, because there is a huge potential for the CNI over here and a huge appetite for solar.
Okay. And do you foresee the development of projects like rooftop car parks and ground mounted, or you see more of a utility scale projects for the big customers?
Absolutely, good question. So what we're trying to do is, as Pavilion Renewables, we are actually not limited to CNI. We also do a lot of utility scales. I'll answer the CNI part first and then move to the utility part. So we see a lot of potential into the CNI part in this region. There are some huge, there are some huge factories that needs to be powered by solar. Huge roofs available for solar, carports, malls, hospitals, you name it, and you have it in this region. Right, and hence we see a lot of potential in the CNI market. And also, as Sham was pointing it out, what is helping this market grow more is people getting more aware about how solar can benefit. Although although now people understand that even though the benefit is just 21% or 22% as of now, but it is going to grow, right? And as Ibrahim was mentioning, the target is pretty high. The standards are high, so there will be a time where everyone will be questioned on what is their what is their role in reducing the carbon footprint of the country, and that will have to be answered, right? So this is for the CNI sector. Speaking about the utility sector, what we are seeing is we are seeing a lot of big manufacturing and processing companies coming into the region for its development, and they need power, right? And they need power at a huge scale, which sometimes it's difficult for the grid to provide, right? So we are working with a lot of firms over here to completely go off grid. And when we say off grid, we have introduced utility scale battery solution, along with a lot of other renewable energy. Like we are working with a lot of companies on using their waste to energy part as well. So truly for helping them truly go off the grid, right? Whatever waste they'll have, we'll use that into the waste to energy plant that we are building up, right? So the corporate philosophy that we have is to act as utility of the future, right? And we are trying to achieve that as we speak.
Excellent, excellent. I have one more question regarding the public sector. The public sector works during the sun peak hours. So whatever solar PV systems you install, but the majority of the electricity will be consumed during their operation. So there is little impact on the grid in most of the times, except on the weekends, of course. So do you see any requirement from the public sector to install solar PV? Or did the public sector, became aware of this opportunity or not yet?
Everyone is becoming aware about this opportunity. Huge potential for public sector as well. When the more the more people get to understand this, the more we the country grows. As the more the country grows, there is a lot of solar potential in public sector as well. We have seen a lot of tender comings out from the public sector, from the government companies as well, and they are also moving towards it. And because of the net metering policy, where whatever you don't consume, grid is acting as your battery bank, right? Why not use it? Because
Yeah.
that's how it's. So everyone is actually moving towards it, and we see as what I think the way we see the market is, the more tenders comes out, that means more people are getting aware how beneficial this is to them, right? So we have seen in this at least in the last year, we've seen a lot of tenders coming out, which is a very good sign of people getting on board with this technology.
A lot of public tenders. Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent. This is what we like to hear. There's a lot of solar going on. Excellent.
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ali. We'll come back to you with more questions in the second
Thank you so
round.
much. Thank you.
Mr. Bakiri, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. Dr. Bakiri is the president of Micro Center Group. He is widely recognized as an industry veteran and pioneer of GIS education in Bahrain. He has a BS in electrical engineering from Austin University, USA, a master's in electrical engineering from New Jersey Institute of Technology in USA, and a PhD in artificial intelligence machine learning from Oregon State University. Dr. Bakiri, we'd like to ask you about the key issues faced in new project construction and execution in the country. Can you give us an idea about what you've been facing?
Yes, first I'd like to thank you and the organizers for this excellent webinar. And I would like to add a few points that were discussed by my colleagues.
Sure.
And one of them was the scarcity of land in Bahrain limits the area where we can actually use, solar energy to the fullest extent, because of the scarcity of the land, people are going to high-rise buildings. And new constructions, you can see, is 6 stories, 10 stories, even some of them will be 20 and 40 stories. Now, that by itself, lowers the percentage that you can use for the building from solar energy because of the limited rooftop that you can get, even if you count the car parks. So this is one of the challenges that we are facing in Bahrain, and probably the solution to that is to go into BIPV, building integrated PV systems, which are also coming into the market. So it's not all bad. We still have the other problem I see with the new solar energy projects is that there is no proper financing incentives that can, so solar projects, especially if you take the boom model, where you build, operate, own, and maintain for a period of 25, which is a typical case for the Ministry of Education tender for is it 14 or 15 schools. The key problem there is not the cost of the solar system itself. It is actually the cost of money that is associated with such a long-term project. And people will find it difficult to compete in that. There was a previous tender to this, which was for Alba. And I believe there was some probably 50 or 60 companies bidding for that project.
Wow.
When it yes, they anticipated, by the way, that within 15 days they will, sort out the technical bids and, ask for people who are qualified to submit the financial bid. But it took them 5 months because of the sheer number. Compare that with the Ministry of Education tender, which was a boom model. You have to do everything, even build the car parks and the solar panels on top of it, and operate it based on a net metering scheme for 25 years. There were only 4 bidders there. You can see the contrast. Where the difference comes is cost of money. There are no consistent financing schemes for these kinds of projects. The other thing is that I would like to add is the solar systems, are actually, it's an integration of various parts, and it should be a tightly integrated way between the supplier of the system, especially the PV panels themselves, manufacturers, and the contractor who is installing it and then maintaining it and so on. Because of what our colleague mentioned earlier, that you have to have so many things to make sure that if there are any issues during this 25-year period, you can actually enforce the warranties and the contractual obligations which are there. So these are some of the challenges that I see that needs to be solved. The other point, the last point I'll make it, so you can have the freedom to ask any more questions. The last point is that the tariff here compared to the tariff, for example, I'm very familiar with the US and the California. We're talking about here maybe 7 cents. There it is about almost 30 cents. So the same cost of installation, okay, if you use it in California, you can get, how much is that? It's 4 times the return over there.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
huh?
Yeah, you divide by 4. You divide the payback period might be much
Yeah,
higher. Yes.
so if I am a developer of solar systems and I can do a project in Bahrain or even in Saudi Arabia, the tariffs also low there, or I can do the same thing in the US. I would prefer to go to the US and put my money there. So some issues that are some encouragements are needed to alleviate these problems.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bakiri. But in the U.S. and especially California right now, they are focusing on carbon reduction. So I'm sure that as our dear friend at the beginning said, Mr. Ibrahim, that Bahrain also doubled their commitments in the last COP26, and I'm sure in the COP27 and 28 it will be more stringent. So all the world is focusing right now on carbon emission reduction, and solar PV is growing exponentially. So definitely solar is here to stay, and all over the world. So hopefully, no matter what the cost is, you will continue to install solar PV.
Definitely, definitely. One more
Yes.
thing is that in Bahrain and in our region in general, the cost of electricity and the consumption is mainly in summer because we don't have heating. But in Europe or in the US, most of the areas in the US, you will actually be using it in summer and in winter. In summer for the air conditioning and in winter for the heating. So again, there is that, double benefit which we are lacking.
Yeah, but that's also good because the generation in summer will be higher and you will consume it, and so that it will have less impact on the grid. So you're also this is a point to your advantage. Thank you very much, Dr. Bakiri. And
Thank you.
I'd like to go back to Mr. Ibrahim, to Mr. Kumar. Mr.
Yes.
Kumar, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. From your experience and vast experience in the inverter field, we like to hear from you about making the right choice, the selection criteria for inverters, and understanding the prevailing technologies in the segment. So, can you tell us about your recommendations for clients when selecting the inverters? Over to you, Mr. Kumar.
Thank you, Samir. I would like to speak on behalf of the developers and the operators because, rather than from the supplier side. So, what would be the right choice of choosing the inverter from the buyer perspective? The most concern would be on the reliability of the product because you are marrying the equipment for 20-25 years operation. So you will see most related to on the reliability rather than on the cost of the equipment itself. So this is the most criteria. I hope everybody will advocate for on this point, especially on the developer side, because the reliability it's consists of quality of the equipment itself, the performance of the equipment, and how about the availability of the spares. This is very important when you talk about the long-term perspective, and also the service. How better the service you get, your generation, or you see, you will able to generate more revenue. So this is the key factor which drives on the selection of the inverter. And of course, there are other factors, which is the LCOE, which we look at the product perspective. It will be like, covering the capex, more yield, and better OPEX. And also the key factor, I would say, in which is people which don't see in the future, which is the uncertainty in the future, which is the grid stability. Today, everybody is focusing on the short term gain, but nobody look at the long term perspective, which is the grid stability. So they have to look into the the solutions which is supporting on the uncertainty which will happen in the future. So on the technology side, there are not much advancement is happening on the rooftop space because it is you have certain limitation on the power density when you talk about the voltage level, but it is tremendously happening on the utility space where you have play with voltage levels as I was showing in my slides. It started from 1000 volt and now is going towards more than 1500 volt on the utility space. And there are a lot of features like if I talk about the C&I space, you have AFCI, which is the very critical factor which every customers think about it on the safety. This AFCI functions, this plays a huge role on terms of the fire safety. As you can also see, many institutions are going to implement in sooner or later on the fire safety has regulation. So this will also play an important role, and it is supporting to the advancement in the technology of the equipment itself. So I think I answered your question. So
Yeah, you answered the question, but you raised another question when you said that you're going over 1,500 volts. What do you mean by that?
It is something like we call as a bipolar architecture, which will be launching. Actually, this is a new product, a new generation product, which we are launching in 2023 on the utility space, not on the C&I space. So, which will be a very interesting solution. Maybe we can talk more about it when we have more time. Yeah.
Okay.
This is something a unique solution, which Huawei is getting into that.
Definitely, it will be some technological marvel you're talking about, because the PV modules, they are still at 1500, but I'm sure you've figured out something. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I will go back to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Ibrahim. I would like to focus on the rooftop, or more generally, the decentralized systems. So, Mr. Ibrahim, from your experience, what are your advice and recommendation for owners who want to install decentralized systems? So, it can be rooftop, it can be car park, it can be canopy, it can be ground mounted. So for decentralized systems, what are your recommendation for the customers in Bahrain, for the owners in Bahrain?
Thank you very much. Working into the also the project that has been installed already and maintaining it, we see, a vital point or a vital decision making that consumers or the installer users needs to take into consideration, which is, installing, well branded, reliable products. And as my colleague was said, it is a 25 years engagement. Going for, let's say less quality product and products will really affect. So the selection of the products is really vital for all the installation. For us, we always work with the top quality brands like Huawei and other PV manufacturer, in order to give the right, or let's say the expected value for the consumers, because this could really go wrong by saying that if it was really not a very good brand, the installation is not done right. Okay, we will lose the market. Everybody will lose. Because the consumers will end up, not being confident in the solar system. So that's a vital thing. The second thing, I think there is a great level of awareness about solar system, but awareness is not enough. New people or organization, companies, consultants need to build their, let's say, qualification into that. Not only awareness, but also more of being qualified people to manage these systems in place. For us as EPC and being in the market, if we start talking with the people who speak our language, it will end up making these consumer benefit from it. They will know how to protect it. They will know how to maintain it. They will know how to manage it. Uplifting the knowledge, the capacity, the skills within this organization is vital.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ibrahim. You talked about qualified people. Do you have a requirement in Bahrain? Do you see anything happening in this regards?
Well, there is, I would say, moderate efforts in upskilling the Bahrainis, for example, in the field of solar. But I think there is much more, to go. We are working to provide training, like as Mr. Kumar was saying, to enable the EPC contractors, the user, with different skills to be able to maintain the solar system. We are playing an active role in upskilling the people and Bahrainis in this domain.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shyam.
I would like to mind, Samir. I just want to comment on a previous question. Is about the tariff.
Okay.
As my colleague was mentioning about the CNI sector, it's around 29 fils, which making it somehow feasible now for the consumers. But when it's come to the residential, the starting rate is a 3 fils, which is literally around 90% less than the commercial. And that making it really not attractive at all for the residential sector, let's say. The payback period sometimes reach up to 15, 20 years. So there is absolutely no incentives in this. Why is that? Because it's heavily subsidized. The government is subsidizing, the tariff for residents. I think the government has to think about how to redirect this, subsidies in order for, intensify the solar market, and how to bring consumer from consumer to prosumer so they can, build or generate their system. I think this is going to be a great area for higher adaptability for solar in the residential sector.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. I think this will happen automatically with the COP.
Yes.
Coming COPs. The commitments will be more stringent, and you will see the government speeding up the solar PV just to make sure that they have emission reductions. It's past the issue of tariff is. I don't think it will be very important in the future. It will be focused on the CO2 emissions.
Yes. We have made the commitment in Bahrain by 2060 for reaching to net zero carbon emission. And all the major organizations in Bahrain now being asked to submit, a solid plan to reach to that level, which I believe it's going to, to be a very powerful initiatives and uniting the markets.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Now we have 3 more minutes, so I will give our speakers 1 minute each. I'm sorry about that, but I would like to hear from each of you about the recommendations for decentralized system. Mr. Shyam, you have the floor.
Sure.
In 1 minute, give us your recommendations for
Uh,
decentralized.
Look, it's pretty simple. Solar is
Okay.
extremely feasible. All the discussion about tariff and scarcity of contractors and developers and it being feasible or not has already been put to the test. Dubai has got astronomical growth, more than 300-400 megawatts deployed in 2-3 years. There are enough contractors and developers here, enough consultants to make it happen. There is even a lease model. As of today, if I launch a tender in Bahrain, which is coming today, there are at least 8 credible financiers willing to put out an offer over there with solid backing with financials to get it executed. So it is literally the intent of an end user to understand that you take solar when the government allows you to take it, and if you wait too long, then you can't get it. So Dubai is already, we are reaching that threshold where it's going to get harder for people to take it. So there are those companies who decide fast and get solar, and then there are those who sit on the fringe for a while, they wait for it, and then probably it becomes impossible because all the neighbors have it and the grid gets saturated. So solar is coming on in an aggressive way. Those who are willing to take advantage of it is good. You have excellent tariffs, excellent capex models, 4 to 5 years payback right now, a 12 to 15% rate of return if they put their money in savings. Then solar is exceeding 20% IRR right now. So feasible and people to deploy it.
Thank you, Shyam. Mr. Fauzi, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, in 1 minute or less, what is your recommendations?
Of course, for solar, always it's important that you have to choose your right partner, especially for when you go to solar. And one of the things that here I always recommend it's when you go for a developer example and a PPA or lease, it is mainly you will let the experimented people do the business, and we will make sure that you will continue your business, and they will make sure that your asset or their asset at that time, they will take care in the entire contract, which is important. And mainly this is one of the important points here for
Well noted. Very important. Thank you very much, Mr. Fauzi. Mr. Ali, how are you with us?
Absolutely, yeah, Samir.
Okay, yeah.
My take on this is I'm a firm believer that distributed solar or distributed renewable energy is the way to decarbonize the country's carbon footprint. The reason is because utility or scale projects won't have an impact on the carbon footprint than the impact a decentralized plant can have, right? Because you're producing at the consumer's premise, right? You have no losses, you have nothing to worry about, right? And there has never been a right time to go solar than right now, because of the policies that we have and the type of tariffs that we are able to see. And as Fauzi said, choose the right partner, because it's a 25-year long journey, right? You want to be with someone who will be there till the 25th year to see the life of the project end.
Definitely. Excellent. I love the comment. Dr. Bakiri, in 1 minute or less, your recommendations for the decentralized systems.
I think he will decide to invest more now.
Yeah.
After hearing the comment from Shyam.
Well, solar is definitely feasible. It is more feasible for the, large areas, industrial malls, etc. But even for residential, it is still feasible because, the lower tariffs, which my colleague talked about, of 3 fields, it's capped at only a few thousand kilowatt hour. So, in summer, you will reach the 29 fills just by having one AC on in the house. It's definitely feasible. If you have any areas that you can put solar on your roofs, on your car parks, go ahead and do it. And it is definitely the return on investment will be there.
Definitely, I confirm with you. I love the comments. Thank you, everybody. Vaishali, are you with us?
Yeah, hi, sir. So Charlie has a few engagements, so I'm here. So
Anand? Yeah.
yeah. So we have some few questions.
Okay.
We have quite many questions, but we'll just take two questions as we are running short of time. So I'll just show it on the screen.
Okay. Okay. So this question goes to Mr. Ibrahim. What kind of support provided slash initiatives are taken by the government for promoting solar? Is there any renewable purchase obligation?
I think
Yeah.
as of the start, I think the governments have promoted solar in a very well manner, putting a very well established 70-page plan, and in that regard to how to support the organization. And we can see that the majority of companies that is owned fully or partially by the government are putting tenders in place. So it is being encouraged, it is being pushed for, companies to put and ignite. We have also seen a very, well-organized system from EWA. There is approved contractors that we are very happy to be part of them. There is approved consultant. There is a process. Just 1 month ago, EWA has gathered the EPC contractor, discussing with them how to smooth out the operation, and they consider, the EPC and the stakeholders as a partners in this journey. So we believe that this is very good and very supportive. I think, as I just stated, with the net zero carbon plan target of zero emission and net zero emission by 2060, all the companies are being asked to submit their plans, and this renewable and solar will have a major part of it, and this is absolutely will be like sort of a mandatory. It's not like now a mandatory, but sort of a mandatory in the pathway.
Okay. Mr. Anand, is there another question? Okay. How many industrial companies in Bahrain? Plenty. Have gone for solar on PPA or CapEx basis?
I think we can answer.
We can ask Mr. First of all, is there anybody who likes to answer this question?
I think we can answer this.
Shyam, Mr. Shyam,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
So within the retail mall segment, mixed-use development buildings, there's at least 6 confirmed PPAs so far. Within the industrial segment in Hid area in Sitra, and even 1 or 2 fractional sites in Manama, we have at least about 4 confirmed PPAs on industrial projects, and LOIs have been shared for at least about 18 plus megawatts, which are core industrial companies. The only issues there are the conditions of the site and the roof. It has very little to do with the contractor and the developer. They are keen to proceed. It's the roof condition and the site which have to be of a certain quality for developers to deploy solar on that.
Okay, Mr. Shyam, thank you very much. Anybody else who likes to add to Mr. Shyam to answer this question? Mr. Ali?
Yeah. So as Shyam said, it's the numbers are correct. This is what we are also looking at. But
Okay.
I would like to just add one more thing, that these numbers are going to grow up substantially, because what we are seeing is at least we currently have at least 40 to 50 megawatt peak of tenders coming up within next few months, right? If the closing cycle works out correctly, by the end of this year, we can just see this number multiplying, or multiplying by X. You can't put a number to it, to be honest.
Correct, 50 mega easy.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So we have a very good answer for this question. We are back to you, Mr. Anand. Do we have? I think we have maybe time for one more question if you have.
Yes, so this is last question.
Okay, the last question: is there any capping in terms of size over the net metering in Bahrain? Maybe Mr. Ibrahim would like to answer this.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
there is a cap which is the same installation capacity. So you cannot exceed the installed capacity at your premises. So this is the cap. It's not a percentage, but it's just equal to the installed capacity, electrical installed capacity at your premises.
The installed capacity of what?
Of the premises itself, how much load you are cater by EWA to your premises. Okay, you can equalize this with the net meter, not exceeding it.
I understood the question. Yeah, the net metering capacity is the annual demand, of course. But I understood the question differently regarding the size of the grid. So, how much renewable energy can it take, as far as percentage? Do you have an idea about the size of the grid and how much cap on renewable energy?
It's a 3 gigawatt grid over there, 3.2 gigawatt grid.
Okay.
And the size of the grid, if you do the numbers with grid stability and solar, you will far exceed 1 gigawatt of solar on that grid, where it can safely take that without impacting the grid. But that's a huge number for Bahrain. Countries start reducing the solar program much lesser than that. So,
Okay, so we have plenty of opportunities to come, and I'd like to ask Mr. Ali about his experience with the batteries. Have you seen any requirement for battery storage in Bahrain?
Yes. So what we are seeing is not for the CNI sector, because net metering is easily available for CNI sector, and hence we see a lot of pushback on the on going off grid for CNI sector, and it becomes expensive to go off grid for CNI sectors. But as I was mentioning earlier, we are working with some utility scale projects in this region where we have a huge demand for the for battery, and going not completely off the grid, but I would say mixture of different energy sources output that way. You have solar, you have batteries, you have other sources of energy coming into the picture, but a decentralized way of generating power, and not taking it from the central grid. So those are the areas which we are getting a lot of batteries into the region.
Okay, so you mean there are areas that are off grid in Bahrain, and those can take
Yes.
solar PV with storage.
Yes.
But
You can say microgrid, right?
Microgrid, yeah. Building your own microgrid.
So these are for large customers, maybe.
Large consumers, maybe anywhere between 20 to 50 megawatt on beyond. So those type of
Okay.
consumers, we are working with them to get them off the grid.
Well, yeah, then the grid operator will be angry with you. Don't get them out of the grid. Okay. Thank you very much, Ali. Mr. Bakiri, would you like to talk do you have any comments about battery storage in Bahrain?
No, personally, I have looked at the feasibility of having batteries, and
Okay.
frankly speaking, it will drive the cost so much higher that many projects, smaller projects, will not be feasible with
Okay.
batteries. So it's
Okay.
still early.
Still early.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Anand, back to you. I think we still have 3 minutes, but we're doing great. Great remarks. Big thank you for the organizer, of course, Anand, and Vishali. Big thank you for the big supporter, Huawei Technologies, and big warm hugs for all the panelists who shared their experiences with us. And thank you very much, everyone of the supporters who watched today's webinar and who will watch it offline. Back to you, Anand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
very much to all our esteemed panelists for this wonderful session, and a very special thanks to Samir sir for superbly managing the session like always. Thank you everyone for extending your time and support for the event. We promise you to come back with more exciting topics very soon. Thanks to our partner Huawei for extending their support to organize this webinar. The floor is now open for networking. See you soon.
Can we clap?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of
Thank you.
course.
Thank you so much to
Thank
Samir
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Very much.
for the wonderful
Really
moderation.
appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Surely we can have a huge round of applause for our panelists.
Thank
Yes.
you.